And we welcome you into the Line Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. A good Tuesday afternoon to you and Happy New Year to one and all. Dear Goon, I trust the holidays treated you well.
Absolutely. I'm wearing this beard to hide my fourth and fifth chin. Fantastic time. I was away at my wife's hometown for a good couple of weeks there, and I felt like I was in The Shining at sometimes because it snows every day up in northwest Pennsylvania.
It is fun to eat over the holidays. Man, the cookies just kept coming and coming. Cookies and fudge and all of the goodies, to say nothing of the meals, which were phenomenal.
Well, you know what?
Boy.
Also nice to be able to sit back into a bar and actually have people here.
Yes, it is. Thanks to the governor for the time being, at least loosening the restrictions. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, and yep, there are some other people in here as well. We certainly invite and encourage you to stop by.
Yes.
Quaker Steak and Lube, and again, support local businesses as much as you can during what are very, very trying times here for local businesses. 2021 did get off to a good start at our house. We did a little scratch-off lottery tickets at the dinner table on, what was that, Saturday night. And the Mad Turtle won $400 on a scratch-off ticket. So we are off and running here in 2021.
Who's the Mad Turtle?
That's Reggie.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I'm calling Wolf and saying he's not 18 or older, buddy.
Yep.
No, so is that like a tradition to do scratch-offs?
Yeah, we each got two scratch-offs at our seats, and of course scratching off. And
that's awesome.
We had told him, we just said, if you get a milk carton, you get whatever's underneath. Of course, as soon as we say it, it's like, oh, I got a carton. It's like, okay, let me see what you actually got. Oh, you do have a milk carton. You got four milk cartons with $100 under each one. So yeah, we were pretty excited at our house. So
that's freaking awesome.
The old college fund got a good kickstart here over the past weekend.
I got a good one for you.
Yeah.
So our tradition was we would have a regular gift for each other, and we'd have a Pollyanna, but we also have a joke Pollyanna, and we're known to be jokesters. So one of my sister-in-laws was given a scratch-off ticket that was a designated winner, but it was completely fake.
Oh, boy.
She absolutely flipped out, screaming that she had won $100,000 and this and that. And meanwhile, all the other 20 people around the table are sitting there knowing the joke was on her. This happened years ago, but we still talk about it.
Yeah, that's stuff. Brutal.
That's a good tradition. I may start trying to do that.
Well, yeah, it's a better tradition now. That's for sure.
I might have Reggie scratch my tickets.
Lots that we can get into. Penn State football making some good strides here on the recruiting front, and with a couple of transfers coming in. I'd say to this point it has been a good off season, albeit a short to this point off season. But I think things are going pretty well at the moment for the Penn State football program. A couple of things. In basketball, the Big Ten is just brutal, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I saw that they were ranked 39th in the overall, 14th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, and it is. I mean, the conference is that stacked, that loaded. Hockey off to a good start here in the new semester. Tough loss last night, but that snapped. What was it? They were up to 4, right?
Yeah,
4-game win streak. So.
On a down year, and they're playing that well.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a rebuilding year, but you can start to see, it's kind of the same thing. I actually had a chance to watch the Lady Lions the other night too, and you can see, and I'm certainly not a women's basketball expert, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I am, but man, you watch that team play. They were playing Maryland, and you can see it coming. They're not there yet, but it's coming, and it's coming pretty quickly. It's a much more enjoyable team to watch. It's an easier team to root for than last several years of the previous era. And it's one of those things, again, you can see it coming. I don't know whether or not it's going to get to where they want to be in 2 years, 3 years. It's going to take another 5, but they're getting there. And it's readily apparent that was the right hire, and that program is heading very quickly in the right direction.
Yeah.
The basketball program to me is going to be this is just going to be an interesting rest of this season, but this off season and into next year and what the next couple of years look like, depending on what the hire is. Anybody that says they know definitively what that program is going to look like over the course of the next 5 years is lying, because there's no way you can know until you see somebody get in there and then see what they actually do. I do think it's going to be very tough for that program to make headway in the Big Ten and to get back to the talent level that Pat Chambers had it at. Not saying it's impossible. Again, the hire is going to be the key, obviously, after this season, and then the buy-in and what the connections are on the recruiting front. But boy, it's tough because you feel like I feel like that program finally got to, okay, now we're at a point where we can consistently, and listen, they're competing this year, but this is largely this is entirely Pat Chambers, talent pool. And I do worry and wonder about the next few years of that program are going to bring.
You talked about the girls buying in, the lady lions buying in. I remember when Pat's first year, and I knew instantly that this guy is going to be pretty damn good because he had all those kids buying in. I remember somebody took a charge, and 4 guys are running at him to pick him off the ground. Like, good job. The hustle, the emotion, and this and that. So they've already bought in, I guess, because I think that they're bound. I think that they have that, like, it's us versus the world mentality that those guys have.
Yep.
But you are totally right. This offseason is absolutely enormous because are they going to get those 3 recruits back who decommitted since Pat got let go?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to get those guys back? Probably not. Who are they going to get? Are they going to buy in? Are the younger kids going to keep buying in? And then if there's even a new coach, or if we're going to keep Coach Ferry.
Ferry, yeah.
I mean, a lot of questions, and it's huge because it's just so upsetting. And I feel like, though, I feel for those guys because they were like, we weren't told anything, and they were like left out of the cold and the whole thing. Like, hey, shut up and go play basketball. That's what it felt like to me, and I think those guys were not happy about it. But I do enjoy how they do play. They're still playing tough. They're still playing together, and they are united against whatever powers that be, I guess you could say. So they are still fun to watch. But my goodness, Lord, is this Big Ten loaded?
Yep, Big Ten wrestling getting underway this weekend. Penn State will begin its season the following weekend at Rutgers, and a lot still being worked out there in terms of coverage and what that's going to look like, what the lineups are going to look like. It is sounding, just talking with a couple people elsewhere in the conference, and I don't know for sure if Penn State's planning to follow suit, but I would suspect that is the case, where they're going to have a couple of mats set up at most of these venues so that the kids that are not in the starting lineup, normally in a wrestling season, that your non-starters are getting plenty of experience with the various open tournaments. And in some cases the team scoring tournaments that Penn State will participate in. Obviously, there is no tournament action except for the postseason this year, so they're wanting to get these kids the opportunity to get some matches under their belt against outside competition. So I know the plan for Rutgers next week is to have 2 mats, and they'll have the one being with the starters, and
that's cool.
You go through the lineup, and then they'll get as many matches in as they can with the other. I think some of these you could see 24, 25 contested bouts on a given day. And obviously the tri-meets are going to be interesting as well. There'll be 2 tri-meets here for Penn State in the upcoming season as well, and trying to give some feel for what a tournament will be like, at least having more than 1 match in a day. But again, 9 duels, and then hopefully, knocking on wood here, that we do get to see a full postseason with the Big Ten tournament and then the NCAA championships.
St. Louis?
But Yeah, and listen, I don't know. I've had a couple of people reach out. What's the coverage looking like? We're still working that out. There's a lot to be determined on. There's costs involved. There's safety protocols involved, and there's logistically what can be done with some of the venues and that sort of thing. So. Still working all of that out, and there will be coverage. We just I don't know exactly what that coverage is going to look like on the radio side, and obviously we should be finding out fairly soon what the TV schedule will be like with the Big Ten network. But boy, it's going to be a different kind of a season. That is for sure. I will say this Penn State squad is loaded, though. Not surprising under Cal. I mean, I do think it's going to be a Penn State Iowa battle this year for the team title. And one of the things that's difficult right now is you're not sure who, with some of these kids throughout the country, who's going to be in with kind of getting a free year here. Some kids that were opting out to train for the Olympics are now opting back in, and there's a lot. I was just reading a piece on Nick Soriano today, and there's nothing definitive there about whether or not he may or may not compete for Rutgers this season. He's been out in Arizona with the Sunkist Wrestling Club training for the Olympics and in the Olympic trials, and Scott Goodale, the Rutgers coach, said, "Listen, it's we're certainly open to having him here, but if that happens, it's got to, we got to get some things moving here in pretty short order. He doesn't have to be here, obviously, for the entire season, but we can't just disrupt the program and just have him come in for the postseason. That's not fair to the kids that are in the program and going to classes and going to practices every day. So." And there's a lot of guys that are in that type of
loopholes
position.
there, Ironhead.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, as it is with all of these sports right now. I don't know. Let's go to the NFL for a bit with the playoffs, and I do think I love the matchups. I mean, I do think this is going to be an exciting weekend. You have 6 games, triple headers on both Saturday and Sunday for the NFL, and it'll all wrap up. By the way, the last game of the weekend will be the Steelers and the Browns, and saw that Browns are going to be without their head coach and maybe without a few more players here with the COVID protocols that are in place. But
they haven't announced the players, right? Or have they?
Not that I've seen. The NFL, it remains by far the most watched and followed sport in the country. And I will say that the playoffs, and there's plenty of things I take issue with the NFL, and there are plenty of things that other people take issue with that I don't have as big of a problem with. But I will say that these matchups and the games that I think we're going to see this weekend are why fans are fired up, right? It's why fans stick with it. Is you love watching
are you saying
games
like to watch
where you don't know who's going to win. And
I watched the one on Sunday where the team said, "Hey, we're not going to win this game."
I watched a good bit of that as well.
No, but I love how it's set up. 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, and they're going to be there. It's wild card weekend. There's going to be some blowouts, i.e., the Redskins versus the Bucks, and
I don't know.
Really?
I'm. We'll see. I
impressive.
Because there's a couple of things you don't know for sure. One, right, until we get up to kickoff, what players may or may not. I mean, that's to some extent true anytime, right? I mean, injuries, you could, twist your ankle in the pregame warmups. But I mean, with the COVID, I mean, you get test come back on Friday, all of a sudden your roster, you think you have your roster set, and now actually we got 4 starters that are going to be out, including the quarterback. I mean, so you don't know what the rosters are even going to look like fully. But so much of it is, I was talking with a buddy of mine who's on the Steelers, and it's like, man, I don't think they should have rested those guys. They need to build some momentum here going into the playoffs. And my take on it, and I think every situation is a little different, and I don't know that there is a right or wrong. I mean, I think if you go back over the history of the game, there are teams who have had success not resting players going in, teams who have not had success. No matter what you do, right? So I don't know that there's. To me, I'm looking at the Steelers, and I'm saying this is a veteran team. Ben Roethlisberger didn't need the game against Cleveland to refine his skills. I think he is physically was beat up. I mean, I don't know exactly what all was going on with him physically, but I think he needed the break, and I think it is that is going to be beneficial for the Steelers. But I think it's a veteran team, and it's the same thing with Cam Hayward. Was Cam Hayward? He's not going to be able to get himself up and playing well in the playoffs because he missed the last game of the regular season.
TJ Watt's ruined his timing.
I will say, like with the Buffalo Bills, I do think I like what they did, and I think it makes sense. And that team has got. I mean, they're coming in the playoffs with a ton of confidence and a ton of momentum.
I know McDermott. It's not his mindset to lay down. You know what? I'm going to rest my guys.
Right,
you know what?
But I think if he had a more veteran team and they've been through it, right? I think you might see him pick his spots. I'm with you that I think that's mentality. But truthfully, I don't think it's Tomlin's mentality either. I think Tomlin is no, let's go all in. I think Tomlin's looking at it and saying, okay, I want to go all in, but we're trying to get somewhere, and getting a week off for a Big Ben or a Cam Hayward, for some of these guys who know what they're doing and can get themselves revved up, no question, and playing at a high level. Yeah, so
the Steelers have. I think the Steelers played all 17 weeks.
Yeah, I think the Steelers did right by their team for the playoffs. I think the Bills did right by their team for the playoffs with the way each coaching staff and organization handled the final week of the regular season. But I'm fired up. I mean, I'm excited to see. I don't know. The fun part for me as a Steelers fan, I truly don't know. Usually I have a good feeling, and a lot of times it's wrong. I mean, there have been years where I'm like, oh, Steelers are definitely the best team in the AFC, probably going to the Super Bowl, and they're out. Chargers come in and knock them out at Heinz Field. So, I mean, or the Broncos and Tim Tebow knock them out. So I'm not going to sit here. This year, though, the fun for me is I don't even feel like I know. I mean, I'd be surprised, but not shocked if the Browns are able to pull this out on Sunday night. But after, if Pittsburgh wins that one, and I am expecting them to beat the Browns, after that, I could see them getting blown out. I could see them blowing teams out. I mean, it's just so much of it is going to come down to how effective can Ben Roethlisberger be, and part of that, it doesn't all fall on Big Ben. It's how well does that offensive line protect him to give him time? How well do the receivers actually hang on to the ball? All of that. But it is going to come down to that passing game. I think the defense is going to be fine, and I think the defense is going to hold up well against anybody, including the Chiefs in the AFC this year. I think they're going to be fine in that regard. I think the question is what type of consistency can they get on the offensive side of the ball? And as we've been talking about all season, got
to run the ball.
I mean, it is still there. It is all there. It just has never been put together this season for 4 quarters for the Steelers. If they can put it together, again, I think that offense has the capability of hanging, with the Kansas City Chiefs or whoever Green Bay Packers, whatever it is. But on the other side of that, have we seen it this year? Not consistently, not for 4 quarters.
They got to be able to run the ball, and as well as I do, that's the quarterback's best friend, and he plays such a different game when he has a run game and has can sit those safeties and have them jumping up and doing the play action pass and stuff like that. Those quick hitters that absolutely destroyed people earlier in the year because everybody was jumping up to try and stop the run. But I don't know, man. The last 4 or 5 weeks have maybe even longer than that have just been really, really bad with the run game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Connor. I mean, because I remember early in the year I was saying Connor is running hard right now. He's playing great, and I don't know if he got beat down or this or that or the offensive line. My favorite player in the NFL is Villanueva, and he's not had a good year at all.
He is not.
He is. I don't know. He looks like an older veteran left tackle who's on the downside right now. He's getting beat up a little bit playing on pass rushing, but the inside, the run game's from the inside and then right side, and it's not really happening for them right now. And they're not going to go long farther in the playoffs if they don't get it together. That's just the name of the game. You have to be able to run the ball in the playoffs.
Yeah, although if Ben's hot, I do think they can with what they have in that passing game. But again, it has to be consistent. The problem with that is when you don't have that running game with any consistency. I mean, you have got to be on.
Yep.
Like you can't have the occasional drop on 1st and 10. You've got to be getting the 3 or 4 yards on some of those plays. That has to be there on a consistent basis, and that has not.
What was the game when they needed 1 yard? Was it that Baltimore game when they were 4th and goal in the 1? That's when the running game started slipping. Was that game, in my opinion?
Yeah, no, that was awful.
We needed to get 1 yard.
They couldn't get an inch, let alone a yard in that one.
Was it the Redskins or was it Baltimore? Was one of those?
Well, Baltimore they couldn't get twice. They were twice they were in goal line situations and couldn't get it. But yeah, Washington. I mean, everybody has shut them down on the running game. I have not heard anything definitive. I'm going to check here. I've been kind of running around today, so I don't know if anything came out of the press conference today with Claypool and his ankle. I will check on that when we get to the break. I will say Claypool has been. I mean, I was happy with the draft, but I was not expecting what they have gotten out of Claypool, and that's. I keep going back to it, but you have Deontay Johnson, who is, I mean, some of the catches he makes. I mean, I realize he had some drops earlier in the year, but man, the catches he can make, they're Lynn Swan-esque in terms of his ability to just go up and make spectacular catches. Juju Smith-Schuster and Claypool are both as reliable a guys as you can have, and both complete receivers, right? I mean, like they're fine and happy to play physical football, and they get good production out of the tight ends. I mean, it feels like that offense should be a lot more productive than what it has been, and I'm still holding out hope that they can put it all together here when it matters most, because I don't think it's a lack of talent. I mean, they are not deficient when it comes to athleticism anywhere on that offense. I mean, they're just not. And that O-line is, it is getting up there in a lot of spots, but Villanueva, maybe I'll give you. He has not looked good with the run game. I will say he has had a very good year with his pass protection. But yeah, the run offense has been a real problem the last few weeks. And again, I think in today's game you can get around that, but you've got to be darn near perfect with your passing game. And again, I think the Steelers have that capability to be near that, but whether or not they can actually go out there and execute to that degree against the teams that they would be facing, especially if they get past the Browns this weekend. It remains to be seen, and that's again part of the fun, I guess, of the playoffs
between those two. So, I mean, I'm hanging out with Cleveland Browns fans the last 2-3 weeks. And I told you a couple weeks ago that I was up there for Thanksgiving, and they're more miserable and more defeatist than Eagles fans. Like the whole world, though. Here comes the other shoe. Here it comes. And I'm watching that game the other day, and I'm like, man, as cocky as Steeler fans are, the Browns fans are they're completely opposite.
Well, it was funny, and it would have been. I was going back and forth with the buddy. It would have been the most Cleveland thing ever right? To all you needed to do was either beat a 2-win Jets team or beat the Steelers, who were playing largely backups. And if they had lost both those games, if the Steelers had made that 2-point conversion, especially, and then won in overtime, so that you let a lead slip away and you lose to the Jets and you're, the team that you despise the most, well, arguable with the Ravens. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
It is a pretty big name. The left guard, Batonio, who literally a Pro Bowl player.
Yep.
Stud left guard for the Browns. He tested positive, so he's out. There's a receiver. I don't know his name, but yeah. So Hayward got a week off, and he's going to go against a backup. Yeah, that's not good. Not good for the Browns.
Well, listen, you never know. It's the playoffs, and the Steelers, have lost so many games that I felt confident going into over the years that I'm certainly not counting the chickens, as they say. But
I wouldn't.
When you look at that Browns-Steelers matchup, I mean, it is hard to envision the Browns winning this game. For me.
Ironhead.
What's that?
The Browns are going to win it.
I don't think. I really don't. I mean, now I do think the Steelers could be in trouble no matter who the opponent is the following week. I think, for one thing, the Steelers are in their head a little bit. I think you saw how relieved the Browns were to get that win and get in the playoffs. And again,
the players or the fans,
they know as they're walking off the field that was far from the Steelers team they're going to be seeing Sunday night, and they know we're hanging on for dear life. So, and the problem is, the Browns had to show and listen, that when you get to this point of the season, all of these divisional teams know each other well anyways. It's not like you're holding anything back. But, I mean, the Browns obviously had to be all in last week. So I think you're going to see some different wrinkles in the defense to try to confuse Baker a little bit.
Sure.
And again, I just think that offense is going to be a much more efficient machine when it comes to Sunday night's matchup. But we'll see. The fun of it is you never know until
I'm really excited about
see
that
it happen.
Game, that's the game I want to watch. Obviously, my friends are Steeler fans and my family is Browns fans and all that, but I don't know. It was just a weird game the other day. I mean, how the mindset works of, okay, we're playing against the second team. Maybe Cleveland had a little letdown knowing they weren't playing against the Pittsburgh Stars, and they weren't playing. And I mean, I don't think that they committed to the run game, in my opinion. They were trying to pass the ball way too much. When they have that ground and pound run game, which is very, very impressive when they do when they run. And I would be worried for that if I was a Steelers fan, because I mean, I do know they're going to come out and try and pound them, and let's go to that's strength on strength right there, in my opinion,
for sure.
And that's probably one of the better games I want to watch this week. It's the game I want to watch, obviously, but and it's the last one, which will end the weekend.
Yep.
I could see Cleveland upsetting them. I really can.
Take where are we at here? Yeah, I think we'll take a break here. When we come back, I do want to talk Ohio State, Alabama, and what we saw in the college football semifinals. And
I want to talk about the college football bowls in general.
We will touch on
full of stuff I need to get out
on all of that as we continue. It is more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We're coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube, and we're back right after this.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaze Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
And we welcome you back here to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on this Tuesday. Alabama and Ohio State will meet for the national title, and I think this year that is as it should be, despite Ohio State's dearth of games over the course of the year. And, you know, I was trying to think about this. If Dabo Swinney was at Penn State, and it's almost impossible to imagine these types of situations, but how much would you be rallying to Dabo's defense versus it feels like he has gotten a little caught up in his own hype and has taken himself now a little too seriously. It would be, to me, and again, everybody has their differing opinions, and I understand that, and Dabo's certainly entitled to his opinions. I do think this year, to make anything hard and fast, and again, I think it's where the Big Ten was just boneheaded at the start of the year is don't make anything definitive. Say, listen, we really want our teams to be, you know, getting 6 games in under their belt. That's the goal. That's what we'd like to see, or something, but not if you don't get to 6 games, you're not playing in the championship game. Well, actually, yeah, you are. That's where I think that they got in trouble. You know, where I think Dabo Swinney now is getting carried away with this. Well, if you didn't play, you know, X amount of games, I can't rank you in the top 10. 2 things. One is that, and again, I'm speaking for me, and obviously Dabo can handle his vote in any way he wants, and any other voter who actually has votes, and I don't, never have, and probably never will. To me, what the vote should be is, this is the team that I honestly think is the best team in the country. This is the team that I honestly think is the second best. I think when you get, and it's one of the things I don't like about college football's setup, and I don't have a better solution, so let me put that out there as well. But like in Major League Baseball, and even in the NFL, right, the NFC East, okay, there are different divisions and there are different talent levels within those divisions, right? But you have somewhat of a even playing field. Yes, some years the NFC East is weaker, some years the AFC Central is weaker, or AFC North, whatever it may be, and stronger. And right, I mean, there have been years where the NFC East has been a juggernaut, sure, right? I mean, it's been, my God, you got 3 teams that are going to come out of there, the way the AFC North is this year. So that stuff varies from year to year. But you basically, and yes, some teams are going to have an easier path over the course of the 16-game schedule than others, but it's not a wide disparity, right? I mean, we talk about it all the time, right? Every game in the NFL is tough. Like, you try to beat the New York Jets, well, that's not an easy task, because, you know, Jacksonville Jaguars, whoever you want to throw out there, and it's relatively even. That is not the case in college football, right? It is a wide disparity between the bottom half of the ACC and the bottom half of the Big Ten or the SEC. The top, again, Clemson, there's no question. Clemson is right with Alabama, the standard bearer of programs over the last 5 years. But, and I think that would be the case. I think Clemson is, what they've done with the talent pool, I think if you put them in any conference, they would be at least competing for the championship anywhere, anytime. But that does not change the fact that it is an easier path, and to me, I don't think it's debatable that it's an easier path to get to the college football playoffs if you're in the ACC than if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten.
Sure.
That's just your path is much easier. You have 1 or 2 games you've got to get up for. I think in the Big Ten, you can go 10 deep, and it's
Anybody
the old on any given day or night. I mean, the talent disparity is not wide until you get to the bottom few programs or bottom few teams each year, and that can change obviously from year to year. So to me, Dabo getting carried away on the number of games in a season in which you can't control that to begin with, and then secondly, and again, it's my problem with college football, and I don't have the solution for it. But if Penn State, you schedule these games so far out. So if you're scheduling, like if Penn State was trying to schedule a Mississippi 10 years ago, right, you might have been expecting that to be a really big game or a big challenge. Or your USC. Well, what if the USC gets hit with the sanctions the year before you're playing them? Well, you schedule that to be a big game. Well, now you're going to get your schedule's weak because USC is in a year where they're down, and you can go right on down the line with the non-conference schedules, and even within the conference, right? I mean, there are years where, all right, boy, Michigan's on the schedule. That's going to help us. Whoops, this is a year where Michigan's a 500 team. It doesn't help us. And there are years where, you're thinking Illinois, all right, that's a win. Whoops, this is the year that Illinois went 10-2 and has it all together. So that and to hold the kids accountable, and it's very difficult. And again, I don't have the better answer. I really don't like the factoring in of schedules in terms of, to me, it should be more about, all right, is the school trying to schedule? and that's not fair either, because, well, yeah, we're going to give them credit for trying to schedule a powerhouse, even though that team went 5-7. Well, that also, I grant you, that sounds ludicrous. Yep, we're going to give you credit because you tried to schedule somebody tough and you got a cupcake. Congratulations. So, I mean, I don't have the answer. And I think it's, to me this year, looking at it, and I think the top 3 teams were obvious. And, people can make arguments. I can't. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, I mean, there's a handful of teams after Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson. To me, those 3 programs are up there, and then it's a group, and no matter who you choose out of that group, there's going to be debate and discussion. But Ohio State clearly was one of the top programs this season, despite not having as many opportunities to show that.
Out of what he said and the way he voted, I don't understand what his end game was.
What he is going to tell you is it was on principle, and that it's that you have to, in his mind, you need to be. This is where I think, again, he's getting himself in trouble. Is what he's going to say is you have to play. It's not fair, and to some extent, he's probably right. Right? It's not fair that one team is playing 10 games, and another is playing 6.
Yeah.
Right? That's not fair. Now, I could make the argument the other way that if the 10 games are against
Syracuse,
easier opponents, you can get Tech. Yes, you can get in a rhythm where the team that's playing tougher games and not as many opportunities, it's tougher to keep that rhythm. And so, I mean, you can argue that any which way. I think what Dabo would tell you is that he feels he's being consistent, and that you needed to play whatever number of games he had in his head that you needed to play to be ranked in the top 10. But there's no question. It was funny throughout the telecast to me to listen to this Ohio State us against the world. You are talking about outside of Alabama and Clemson, the premier program in college football over the last decade, right? I mean. It's Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State, and then Oklahoma, Georgia, a couple of other schools that would be in there. But that's so the idea that this was some sort of great underdog Cinderella story. We're going to prove ourselves when everybody is doubting us. I mean, I really thought going into that game that Ohio State was the better team. Now, I was not expecting them to handle Clemson the way they did. I thought that whole game was going to go the way the first quarter did, not the way that second quarter did when Ohio State was able to open it up. I will say the quarterback spot is so crucial, and you're looking at obviously Clemson has Trevor Lawrence, who is phenomenal. Justin Fields, I think, is right there. Whether Lawrence from all of the experts, I wouldn't be able to pick between the two myself. I mean, they're just both phenomenal, at least college quarterbacks. And obviously Alabama is loaded there too. I just think that's the position that is the difference maker. And I think that's why Ohio State has a real shot here against Alabama. And I get that Alabama's offense, I mean, I watched it. That is a big time college football program. But I think Ohio State can match up well along the line on both sides of the ball.
Sure.
And I think they have a quarterback who can be the difference maker on a given night. I think this is going to be a fun and very competitive game. I'm not expecting Alabama to breeze to the national title. I think this game will go right down to the wire.
I don't think
I like what both teams
I
bring.
think of Deshaun Watson when they beat Alabama in that big upset game back in 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. That's exactly what I'm thinking is going to happen, because you got Fields out there who I consider the best quarterback in the country, even over Trevor Lawrence. But with what's going on with Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL, I think that Lawrence will go ahead of Fields. There's no doubt. But I just feel, and I said it a couple of weeks ago, I feel like Ohio State is the best team in the country, and I think that they're the only ones who can give Alabama a run. And I would not be surprised. I'm actually going to root for. I have been rooting for Ohio State, and I am going to root for.
I was
going to
ask you about that because there's a group of buddies that we were going back and forth. It's like, oh, I feel dirty, but I think I'm actually rooting for Ohio State. I'm like, no, I definitely am, and I'm like, it's not a position you'll see me in very often
this year, do they?
They don't, and I don't know if it. Ryan Day comes across to me, at least, as a very appealing guy. And I don't know. I mean, I've never met him, and I really haven't talked to. I mean, I don't know. I don't have not talked to anybody inside that. All right, let's get the real lowdown. Boy, he just comes across as a more genuine guy than a lot of these big time coaches to me, and he just comes across as very likable.
So how about the halftime of the Notre Dame game when they had the interview with Saban? Who did that remind you of? That reminded me of Joe so freaking much.
Yeah.
What? Take his head fed up. He did not want to be there. Did not want to answer her questions.
No, he
so ornery and just like shut up. And then I only got 15 minutes with my team right now. Dude, you're up 20 points. Relax. Let's chill down here a little bit. But I'm just like, this is exactly that's how Joe was. And it was like, that is the epitome of what Joe was here. And I was just laughing at it because people are like, oh, he seems like a real chummy fellow type of guy.
Well, and I do feel for Brian Kelly and Notre Dame. I get that you're not happy with the narrative, but dude, your team gets blown out every time it's there. Obviously, that's going to be a storyline. And nobody's asking you to apologize for being there. I mean, that's any team would take that opportunity, but and I'm not even to whatever degree you can earn it in college football, they earned it.
They
so
rightfully earned that spot.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that I have a problem with it, but to not think that when every time you get to that point, you get blown out, that's not going to be a storyline. And I don't know that he did himself any favor. I think you say, listen, to me, I think you own it. Hey, you say, yeah, it's brutal. We want to get over the top. We're going to do everything in our power. We're going to keep.
Same question that Franklin has to answer.
Yeah.
Are you going to be an elite program? I mean, he's got to keep answering that question until you get over that hump. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about Joe. Joe had to get over that hump at 68, 69, 73, undefeated. They weren't going to give him any love.
Yeah.
He had to get over that hump. 78 happens, and then all of a sudden 82. Thank God. He finally got over that hump, but it's not overnight. You got to answer those questions. And for him to say, they just seem so pouty. Well, I wish the local newspapers would listen to that. No, shut up, dude. Like, that's your job. You got to deal. You're a national program. Now, My thing is people are like, oh, Texas A&M should have been in that final and this and that. And I'm like, dude, they had their shot against Alabama, and they lost by 40 to 50 points.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and we'll see what happens with Ohio State. I think Ohio State is the only team this year that's going to be able to be
Jeff, what do they both have? What do they have the top two in the country of? Let's talk about this. Let's think about this. They have the number 1 and number 2 offensive lines in the country.
Well, and two of the top three, and two of the top three quarterbacks
and defensive line.
Yeah,
but
the line
beef is where you win titles. I'm sorry, Alabama's offensive line. Oh my God, dude, they come off the ball, and for people, the game's not like that anymore. It's more read and react and this and that. Watch Alabama's offensive line. Yeah. Watch Ohio State's offensive line. They're gripping and ripping on people, man.
No,
it's freaking awesome watching that.
It is impressive.
How I watch a game is different than probably how anybody else watches a game as an offensive lineman. I still sit there and watch. Yeah. I'll sit there and say holding, and they'll be like, well, how do you know that? And then the little red tag, yellow flag comes up, and there you go. It's a hold. That's what I watch. I watch the offensive line. And those two teams absolutely maul people. Yeah. Maul people. So I know we don't got much. We only have 12 minutes out, but I do want to get my rant here. Yeah, eventually.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and go to that.
If I see one more freaking coach on the sideline have me held back by a strength coach, I'm going to throw up. Get some control of your team, of yourself. That you need to be held back by a person. You need to be like Booch said before the show. Those little leashes they put the kids on at Disney World so they don't lose their kids amongst all the people waiting in line. Yeah, they need to put that on some of the coaches. And if you need that, you have no control. Your team, they're looking at you. Okay? That's my one. My number 2 is coaches on the field. Like I'm watching that Cincinnati-Georgia game, and at one point I saw Fickle in 3/4 of the sideline running on the field on a 4th down stop. Stay the hell on the field. Yep. Stay on your sideline.
Yeah.
Stay on your sideline. That's why I was so happy Saban got one at the end of the game. And my biggest thing that I constantly complain about, and my in-laws were like, you got to get the hell out of our house. You're driving us nuts right now, is there is zero respect anymore for your opponent anymore. Between these pregame fights, these postgame, or the in-game lippy, chitty chatter or whatever.
How I do have a question about that too.
It's nothing. Here, I have to get it off my chest. When I see an opposing team's player get onto another team's sideline, and he literally gets surrounded 15, 20 guys, and they're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to beat this man up because he's on your sideline? Well, you're going to get – that's dumb.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? You make yourself look foolish. The pregame stuff with the no shirts on, going out there and having pregame fights because we're that much tougher than you, it's so stupid. It's so bad. Tulsa, Mississippi State, I don't know. I watched that whole game from top to bottom. I was absolutely furious. And then I'm telling my families, Carrie's family's watching with me, and they're like, man, you're really not happy. And I'm like, I'm saying, I'm watching this whole game. It's getting chippier and chippier and chippier and chippier. And then they go to we have a fight right now. And then I go back to it, and they're like, how did you see this coming? I said, I saw it coming the whole game. The whole game, this was festering.
But here's my question on that: is how does it's Tulsa and Mississippi State? I mean, it's one thing, Miami, Penn State. And I'm not excusing it anywhere, but it's Tulsa and Mississippi State without any of the activities that normally,
there wasn't a bar brawl before the game.
Right.
Like
sometimes you might get together and it's like, man, that group of guys, those guys are jerks. They had no idea. How does that type of ridiculous hatred develop in one afternoon?
Yep.
And at the end of a season like this, nothing about it made sense, but the fact that it was
I just don't get
Mississippi State and Tulsa.
The lack of respect for people. But you know what you didn't see in the Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, Ohio State game? You saw none of that.
Yeah.
Zero of that.
Well,
there was play
for
with
one
boys.
thing,
they're under control. They're focused on winning the game, not getting stupid penalties.
Yep.
The worst one I saw all weekend, after everything was said and done, that Oklahoma or the Tulsa fight, I was so mad at, and this and that, and then how Mike Leach handled it, I lost complete respect for that dude.
I don't know.
It looks like he's completely looks like he has ALS. He looks like he's gone. It's amazing to me. But I'm watching that Indiana-Kentucky game on Saturday, it was Saturday, right? It's January 2, and a guy from Indiana, I believe it was Indiana, but it could have been Buffalo. It was one of the blue teams. Guy runs on the sideline and this and that, and he falls down to the ground, and this coach, I can tell he's a coach because he's got a headset on, is literally like trying to knee him. And then the kid gets up and the coach is like in his face, like, what are you doing, coach? What are you showing your team here?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, show some poise. It's like, this is not how you win games. Are you going to intimidate a guy because you think he's going to be scared to go to your sideline now because he might get beat up by you and all your players? It's the dumbest thing I ever saw. I couldn't stand it. I was getting so mad at the whole thing. And then to see Saban get that penalty at the end of the game with, the sideline control, I was like, okay, thank God. But the NCAA really has to step this up on the get control. Was there not a pregame fight between Penn State and Michigan State a couple of years ago when all our guys had no shirts on and they were out there fighting and throwing chips and this and that? And they said that all players must wear shirts and stuff that have a number on it because the referees have to see. If they see somebody throw a punch and they don't know who it is because they have no shirt on. But I'm watching that Tulsa and Mississippi State game, and there's dudes out there with no shirts on throwing punches. The refs don't know who the hell they are. Just completely insane. Like, you made a rule for a reason. Act on it. Use it. But just, coaches, get control of your kids on the sidelines. I mean, there's no respect anymore. I don't know if it's the generation that got their asses kicked by their parents versus the timeout generation who've never been told no in their lives. Is that what we're going through? But it's just infuriating me. And I just saw it every game. It's crazy to me. But, watching those two title games, you didn't see that was a breath of fresh air. And then the next day you wake up and you see, all the crap talking going on and fighting. And it was just so bad. It's just Herb Street. It's a black eye for the NCAA. They need to get this under control because these pregame fights, in-game,
But it's got to start with the coaches. I'm with you on Leach. It was just disappointing. Disappointing isn't strong enough for the reaction watching. It's like you just wanted somebody to just grab him by the shoulder. Do you understand what your job is, man? Like, you do understand that part of your job here is to educate and help these kids be better men. This isn't helping. Yeah. This is not the way you achieve that.
And it was almost every game was going on, but that was the one that everybody's going to look at. But like I said, I get more and more mad every game watching guys go into the sidelines and they get surrounded by the opposing team. Like, dude, you're a four-string offensive lineman. Back off, man. All right, I know you're not going to get on the field here, but I have to get back to the field and play a game right now. I mean, what are you trying to do? You're going to try and intimidate them? It's so stupid. It's fake tough. There's so many fake tough people anymore. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
God. All right, rant over.
No, that was a good one.
Let's go Brownies. No, but I am really. I mean, I love this matchup with Alabama and Ohio State.
I do too.
I absolutely love it. They are the two best teams.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. I mean, I'm happy the Ohio State wins. And another thing about the bowl season, Indiana should be ashamed of themselves taking the Big Ten patches and logos off because they were upset because they got passed over. Like, okay, did you think you had your shot against Ohio State? You didn't do it, okay? The rule was stupid to even put in place. Like we've talked about from when it was made.
Yep.
No reason to make that rule. So do you think you got passed over? But Ohio State was so much better than you. Then two. And they think they got passed over by going to the Outback Bowl. What do you think they were going to send Northwestern to the third-ranked team?
Right.
They won the West.
Right.
So what are they mad at?
Yeah. Well, that's and on
top of that, they don't show up. They're an 8-point favorite who got beat.
Yeah. And that's another part of it is if you are going to you need to at least back up, right? You've got to at least go take care of business.
If you're going us versus the world, you better back it up.
Yes, if you're going to say that you deserved X, then you've at least got to accomplish Y.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
that's algebra. I'm out on algebra. I know 1 and 1. I don't know X. You put alphabets in the math system, I'm done.
I just know that too many of these games are giving me the Z's by the end of them.
I watched every single bowl game, Jeff. I'm not lying to you. I watched. We were away, obviously, and I watched every game.
Yeah.
My in-laws are like, "Wow, I love the couch with the addition of the 395,000-pound man over there." But yeah, it was good. I loved watching it. It's like it literally is my favorite time of the year. But I was the stuff that was really getting me, and I was getting more and more mad watching all that stuff. And I don't like to see that. You got to respect the game, respect your opponent. I don't like to see what's going on with college football right now.
Real quick, the other thing I don't like is, and regardless of what you think of Tom Herman or whatever, the 3 years is not. I don't care what program. And now, if I will say, not knowing what they're seeing, I mean, you can tell sometimes in a year. All right, this isn't working. So it's not. But I mean, it's a guy that knows how to coach football, right? I mean, I don't think there's anybody that thinks, oh, he just somehow forgot how to coach. I am really curious to see what happens here with Steve Sarkisian and whether or not, because it's a different animal there in Texas, right? What he was doing in the Pac-12 and obviously as a coordinator. I mean, he's a big name, and he obviously knows how to recruit, and is a good coach. I'm really curious. I guess I'll just leave it at that to see one, how much time they give him, and how quickly, if he's able to get that team. You know, I mean, for them, success is going to be. We've got to be in the college football playoffs
base, man.
On a regular basis.
That's an insane fan base.
Yeah, and I just don't know with where Texas A&M is right now, right in the state, and even with the with what Oklahoma's doing in the conference. I think they're going to have, and even like I was watch that Iowa State team. That legit, that is a really good balling. Yeah, that is a really good football team. So I'll be curious to see. I mean, I'm not expecting him to not have success. I just don't know. Again, I think the Texas fans and that administration, it's like, well, no, we need to be in the college football playoffs within 3 years, and I just don't know that that's attainable right now with college football the way it is, and with the way Alabama and Clemson are going. I mean, there's only so many other slots there, and the way Ohio State's going right now as well.
Remember I told you that the knock on Texas players is that they are sort of peaking out in high school. I mean, you're basing your whole program around those type of guys who are peaked out physically because they play in such great high school programs. And you better start bringing some people from out of state who aren't physically tapped out and ready to go.
But I think that's where Sarkisian maybe can help, right? I mean, he certainly
pipeline.
Yeah, is a guy that has
Sark got a
deep
history,
roots.
Me and Sark got a history.
Swear. Well, what's the history there?
We played in Canada together. We had a.
Is that right?
Yeah, my 2 month half a hoagie and half a cup of coffee in the Canadian Football League. He and I spent some time. We were sitting in the casino. I looked next to him. I'm like, dude, you're a freaking Mormon, because he was BYU's quarterback. And he's like, F you, I'm a freaking Catholic from California. As he's slugging down a beer, I said, that's my man. As he's saying, hit me on a blackjack table. So I was like, all right, I guess you're not Mormon. No, but he's
another
a good dude.
It
was a fun time up there. I had fun with him. And, I wish him all the luck. I mean, he was a good guy. And I don't know. The stories about him being, hammered out in at USC. I mean, is that blown out of proportion because people wanted him out and they wanted somebody else in? Who knows? I mean, there's definitely. Look at Doc Holliday in West Virginia right now.
Yeah,
he gets canned, and he just won. He just won a conference title and won his 4th bowl game, and They let him go because he's got no control of the program. But they're saying the governor wants the old coach back, and man, you think politics are bad in real life? I mean, geez, politics and sports are horrible.
Oh yeah. No, and you can't get away from it.
Wow, I'm all sweating here, Jeff. I'm all wound up here. I've been holding that in for 10 days, buddy.
Well, we're glad you were able to get it out, and we'll give you another opportunity to unload on Thursday, and we'll look forward to that as we'll break down a little bit more of that Ohio State-Alabama game, and certainly talk some more Penn State sports on Thursday's show, as well as delve into these NFL playoff matchups, and maybe we'll just go through game by game and kind of go through what we're expecting and wanting to see in the respective games. But yeah, the Eagles, you just have to, not the season they wanted, but you have to give hats off. Played hard for 60 minutes some of the games.
That was so horrendous. Everything about
that
it
was pretty bad.
Everything about it was horrible.
We hope you have a great rest of the week until Thursday anyway, and then we'll be back, to ruin it for you. Until then, be safe and be good.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaise Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.